I grew up on Audubon in the 90s. It was not fun. It was trauma. It was violent. I couldn't, I came back here and I was so depressed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going back. But when I came back, I had a lot of healing that happened. And then I met actors, I had my
Right.
old church when I was a kid, they let me use it. And I realized I could make stuff and I saw the need in the community. And I was like, all right, maybe I came back to help the community in the arts.
Welcome to Uptown Voices. From Harlem to the Heights to the northern tip of Inwood, we're here to celebrate our people and together seek solutions for the difficult issues we're all confronting as neighbors. Regardless of what hood you represent, we share the same goal, creating the best community we can, somewhere to enjoy, where we can build our lives and raise our children. We want to thank 181 Cabrini, located on the corner of 181st Street and Cabrini Boulevard, for its generous support for this podcast.
What's up, y'all? It's Lev Black. Welcome to another episode of Uptown Voices. I'm here with my brother, Octavio Blanco. We're like on our 30-plus episode now. Before we go any further, I just want to remind y'all to please subscribe to our channel. Super duper important. It helps us out and it's free. But today we have a special guest, Adrian Miranda, who's the founder of Gross Anatomy Studios as well as Uptown Actors. Adrian, brother, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it. Octavio, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have Adrian on. We talked a few months back, and it sounds like you're a busy guy. You've got a lot going on. But I'm happy to have you here, and I'm happy to be able to support. And also because we're such big lovers of the arts and of the moving image up here, we love it that you could join us.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah.
Adrian, so tell me about Gross Anatomy Studios and Uptown Actors. What are the two? What are you doing? What does that mean?
Yeah, so all right, so I'm gonna give you the long version. Like, interrupt me, ask questions.
No, we
because
good. Go ahead, brother.
It's a long journey. This is Adrian Gross Anatomy Uptown Actors after a decade, maybe even more.
Wow.
So I'm a physical therapist. Right now for the past year, I've been a physical therapist for Broadway shows and actors. Before that, I was just kind of in the general orthopedic area, sports, and then but rewind to when I graduated grad school, and I remember there was a class that we took, and it was surgery. That was the name of the course, and I left, and it was like the last semester of my program, and I said this has to be on TV, and I'm going to be on TV. And my goal was to become a really good physical therapist for like 4 or 5 years. I just studied orthopedics and everything I could for medicine, right? Because I didn't want to be a liar, be a quack, or kind of say, wrong things. I wanted like to know as much as I could before I started making this TV show that was, entertainment but educational. So I wanted to make the next Scrubs of television, or the next Grey's Anatomy, but I wanted to be more comedic. So
wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
So you did the studying to do that. That's pretty amazing. So that was the thinking going in. I'm doing this for that.
I mean, it was later. So like physical therapy school for me, it was 4 years of undergrad and then a year and a half of graduate school, where most people, it's 4 years of undergrad, then 3 years of grad school. So I kind of went through a little bit of an accelerated program. So my fifth year, my final year, was when the light bulb went off and said,
Gotcha.
I got to be on TV and I want to make this for TV, because it was just education. My profession is really just teaching people about their bodies. And so for 4 years, I studied physical therapy, like advanced physical therapy. I did a residency. I started a PhD. I didn't finish it, but I got all but dissertation, mentored with fellows, like experts, like just was stupid, crazy, obsessed with it. After 4 years, I said, I'm ready to learn filmmaking now. And that's when I happened to meet this documentary filmmaker who told me about Brick Arts Media in Brooklyn, where adults can take residence in Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn at the time. Residents can take filmmaking courses for like $20, $30, $40, $50, $90, where at NYU or SVA, it would charge you like $3,000. So that plus YouTube, a lot of YouTube, and asking a lot of my college friends at the time, and filmmakers I met just for advice. I was just constantly trying to learn, stay up all night. And fast forward, I learned everything. I learned editing, filmmaking, writing. I learned color correction, and I'm colorblind. I'm partially colorblind. I learned After Effects. I got into 3D motion capture, Unreal Engine. So I got into almost every part of it. I started doing 2D animation, but I got so bored with it. I'm not that type of personality. You gotta be like very detail oriented and patient. And so I was making little sketches. Gross Anatomy was like what I branded. I had a logo since 2017. So I started making these comedic sketches, and it was all narrative. So my whole goal was like, I'm gonna teach you lead about your shoulder, and it's gonna be this creative person. He has a family, and he can't lift up his newborn baby, but he's busy, and something comedic happened. So it never was like, "Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm gonna teach you about your shoulder." It never was that. I tried that, and I was terrible at it. So I did that, and then pandemic hit. I moved back to Washington Heights. So this is kind of like the Hobbit kind of story, Lord of the Rings, and your journey. And I came back, and lo and behold, things just happened, and I was able to make my web series. But like I won't lie to you, I grew up on Audubon in the '90s. It was not fun. It was trauma. It was violent. It was I couldn't. I came back here and I was so depressed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going back. But when I came back, I had a lot of healing that happened, and then I met actors. I had my
Right.
old church when I was a kid. They let me use it. And I realized I could make stuff, and I saw the need in the community, and I was like, all right, maybe I came back to help the community in the arts. Because I've always seen entertainment as like money. People are like, oh, you're a
Right.
broke artist. I'm like, bro, I'm looking at Bad Bunny. I'm looking at Sabrina Carpenter, looking at, Enrique Iglesias back in the day. I'm looking at John Leguizamo. I'm like, where the arts is there? There's the broke part, but there's also a lot of money in there. And I was like, all right. So I did study like the business of show business. And so in 2021, 2022, I made my web series, which was my dream. So if you on my YouTube or my Instagram, you see clips, but my web series is 5 episodes long. And I used people in the community that I met. I joined the gym, and I think I met one person who was in it, but just people I met in the neighborhood and knew even from before then, and including my mom. I made my mom act. She's never acted before, and she's like the
That's
hit
so
of the
cool.
web series. Like all the I literally get random comments on LinkedIn. Oh, your mom and your character remind me of my mom and my life. So there's a relatability to that. But anyways, like just using people I knew in my community, and the web series is 5 episodes long, and it's doing pretty well. So after that, I kept trying to like promote it. I had meeting with people who sold their films to Netflix, Amazon producers, but just nothing kind of clicked. And I was like, okay, I thought I would make this web series and someone would discover me. So 2024, last year,
Oh,
I was
overnight success.
right, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, even at that point, I guess I started really learning 2010. So that would have been 10 years already, right? And so last year I was kind of having a tough time. I said, man, this physical therapy, educational narrative stuff isn't working. And I'm like one of the few people that can do everything, like storytelling and the technical aspect, right? And I kind of said, you know what? Let me give up this physical therapy part, and let me just make whatever I want. So that's when Uptown Actors started.
Mm.
And I put up flyers. Yeah, I put up 20 flyers around the train stations, 175th, 181st, and 168. And I was like, God, give me a sign if this is meant to be. Give me more than 4 signups. Mind you, a week before that, I was like really depressed. I was crazy depressed. I had built a mobile video game about anatomy, like you could play it on your Android device. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get so many people asking for this and helping them, and I'll make bank. I'll get an investor. I got like 2 people ask me for the link, and at the time I had 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I was like, wow. I said, if this Uptown Actors performing thing is for me, give me more than 4. Right. So the mobile game, I said, let me have 10 people, just 10 people hit me up. And I'd be like, this is the right move. I got 2 people, only 1 person like actually used it. And then with the Uptown Actors, just fly black and white, nothing fancy. I got 7 people emailed me, and then I got 14 the next week. Now there's
What?
50 people.
And
There's
Nice.
50
what was
people.
the flyer? What was the flyer saying? What did the flyer say? Like,
It said, if you're sick and tired of going downtown to audition and perform, and you want to make theater and film uptown, scan this QR code. And it was like a Google form. It was just like an email and like first and last name, and that was it. As it was
And
black and
so
white, there was nothing fancy about it.
So is this the first production of is the Uptown Books the first production now from Uptown actors?
Oh no, we've made 12 microfilms.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just released one today. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see a story. It's called Pops. It's a hip opera. If you go to my LinkedIn, it's there. No, we've made 12. We have one more. No, we've made 12 so far, and then so 13 total. 13 total. One has to be edited. One is like in post production, but the other two are literally just edited, finished today. And yeah, so so after the 10 films, right? This is like I think in July or August. I said, all right, we've done the film thing. I have a system and a process and how to do it. We're ready for the stage. And then we were going to Latino film market, who Arilyn Martinez Cora is the founder of, who you should get on the show as well. Latina, she wants to get into film distribution, and she has a screening series, and she was doing that recirculation. Now, at the time, Octavio, I had met with you and I said, I'm working on an In the Heights movie parody, right?
I remember that, yeah.
I was debating the movie and I was going to do the stage play still, right? So I walk in to see this place called Recirculation. I'd seen my friends like do open mics there, and I was like, let me just stop by a week before the movie screening to check it out. As soon as I walked in, every idea of a stage play I had went out the window. And I said, let me make an immersive play out of the bookstore. And at that point, it just came to me. Like I can't even tell you why. I said an interview with a CUNY journalism student this morning, and I was like, I wrote the play within 10 minutes of walking into the place, or I had the whole setup. Yeah. And the In the Heights thing kind of went out the window, and it's still on my mind, like it's still being planned and developed, and it's already kind of been started. But yeah, the idea was like, I was myself, I'm a swing dancer, I perform as a swing dancer, and I still audition. And my patients, a lot of them are on Broadway and they live right here. Literally, like they live near both of you. And I'm like, wait, why do I have to go downtown every time I want to go see live theater or anything, right? Or I have to perform everything downtown, but a lot of us live uptown. So the idea was to make this, because I wanted to, really the idea was when I walked in, it was during the Trump DEI grants kind of removal. And I said, all right, the idea came to me. There's this bookstore, an amazing space. I have an idea for a story. The story kind of happened right away. And I was like, I wonder if we could sell tickets and be a fundraiser, which I don't really advertise this too much, but a portion of it goes to the bookstore because it's a nonprofit, right? And it was a way to kind of like offset, hey, why are we always, receiving help? We're always like, give me money from the government. Why can't we create an economy within ourselves in the community? Have people come uptown to party, uptown to see theater, uptown to film, uptown to audition. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And, I'm also working on my own musical, a rock musical. My father died of AIDS in 97, and I just found out 2 years ago. So it's really about kind of like family secrets and how do you deal with grief. And we're human, right? So, there are things that we have, both of you probably have been around long enough to be like, yes, and what? Abuela,
For
what?
real, yeah, for sure, for
Papi
sure.
did this, right? So the idea is to kind of create theater that's it's not a stage reading. It's a full-on production. You could take your family, you could take yourself. This is like PG-13, so it's not really, there's a couple curse words, but it's some deep material in the show. But yeah, what if every weekend there was some kind of theater to go? If your family's visiting, or one of the ways to keep it fresh is that we're going to change the actors. So I'm not going to be playing Poochie in Uptown Books the whole time. Frank, the ex-firefighter, someone else there's an understudy. So everybody's going to be kind of moving in and out of the roles, and you can come back in and leave. But what if there's a show that you can go every weekend? I'm kind of using like the Tyler Perry model of theater in these communities, and then eventually having the film kind of feed off of each other. And my buddy also asked like, oh, you're gonna make a movie out of it, the play? And I was like, well, I guess so.
Why
we
not,
could,
right?
right?
But tell us, I'm kind of fascinated by the idea of you going to recirculation, and I know the feeling. Recirculation is I love the place. Like, it really is kind of special, you know what I mean? But tell us a little bit more about that. Like, so what is Uptown Books about, and how was it inspired by recirculation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the space just lends itself to be an immersive play with several characters. So like the logline is a quirky mix of strangers meet and find connection in unexpected ways, right? And so really, I kind of, and I got into even like Word Up the Amsterdam bookstore. I bought stuff from there before, and you meet people and you hear the conversations. You listen, you eavesdrop on them, and you can't help to hear what they're talking about, what books they're reading, also what's going on in their families or issues that are happening in the community. So it's just like every barbershop, right? You go to the barbershop, fulano de tal is saying something over there, and you're talking to your barber, and also you like laugh because you heard something what they said over there. That's just a normal thing. And I made it bilingual without any, I'm debating and debated whether to have like a leaflet that has the translation. But I said, if you're on the
Right.
subway and you're hearing people speak French, right,
Mm-hmm.
you can still kind of understand the tone. And that's the immersive part. That's the reality of it.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, so sorry. So the idea was like, a dramedy, like it's comedic at first, but then there's like, one of the things that, uh, I discuss about In the Heights, and I think a bunch of us who grew up here is like In the Heights made it pretty, gentrification. Sure, no, there's way more than just gentrification to deal with. There was homelessness, drugs, violence, guns, abuse. Like it was a nightmare, right? So I wanted to put in a really dark part, which is an alcoholic the town drunk comes in and he's having one of the worst days of his life, and he has, he has grief. He hasn't mourned over the loss of somebody. I won't tell you who it is, but it's
comes into recirculation
what do you
into
mean?
the bookstore.
The
This is
play in the play.
in the play, yeah.
Yeah, in the play, Uptown Books, yeah. So I kind of brought the reality of life that, life isn't all pretty and it's not a musical, it's not theater. There's some real dark elements into our community. And it's also, you might know of somebody, but you never talk to them, but you know who the guy is on the corner that dresses up with pink all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and you
Right.
know who he is, and you've heard of him, but you never actually had a conversation. In this play, oh, now you're having a conversation with that dude that's drunk all the time, and you realize, why is he self-medicating?
What exactly is an immersive play? I just walking around the bookstore and there's different scenes that are being played out in different parts of the bookstore, or is there like a path that I'm supposed to take and it's taking me to different parts of the bookstore, or can I just walk around wherever I'm going?
That's a great question. So usually in a regular play or theatrical, there's a stage and then you're sitting in the audience, right? In immersive, you're kind of on the stage with the actors. So in recirculation, I will guide your eyes to a certain part of the bookstore where there's a scene. Then that scene kind of ends, and then someone's yelling over there, and your eyes turn this way. Then there's a musician playing music, and so it's not all at the same time. Like you can't really choose your own adventure. It's just more of like you are a fly on the wall. That's what it is. So all of a
That's
sudden, if you walked into recirculation right now and it's packed, right? There's an event, a mixer, and all of a sudden you hear people yelling at each other and cursing at each other. What are you gonna do?
right.
Like, or you might go to the corner. So that was the idea, is like, what if I can get you to feel like this tension is right over there and you have to look over and you can't escape. So
And
that's the immersive part.
is it
That's fascinating.
scripted?
Yeah.
Is it scripted? So like there's a script, and did you write the script, or do you have a partner do you work with, or what's the process there like? Because is it similar to writing a script for like a movie, and how long is this like experience? How long do you commit to it as an
Yeah.
audience member?
Yeah. So it's a one act play. So it's between 35 and 45 minutes. So it just depends on kind of like the flow. We've gone between like 35 to 39 minutes when we've done it. I wrote it myself. We call it book and then the music and lyrics, right? So the book is like the script and the dialogue. The music, one of the things I wanted to do is promote local musicians or local artists. So it's an immersive play with music. So Nicola Vasquez is a local singer-songwriter, has an extensive career, and I asked to use some of her songs. There's 4 songs in it because she is, licenses music and she has a show going, potentially going to Broadway or in the works. I could only use 2 of them, so I wrote the other 2. The other 2 were from my musical, my rock musical, that I kind of flipped a bit and gave it to Kelsey McDonald, who's the narrator and musician, and in her voice it sounds amazing. It just sounds way different, even though it's a rock song originally. So yeah, I wrote 2 of the songs. Nicole wrote 2 of the songs that were already like published. She'd already done it, I think, in like early 2000s, and the rest I wrote. I wrote, produced, directed everything. I'm in it, so pretty much everything you can.
You wearing a lot of hats, brother. You were
Yeah,
telling
you
me
are.
before that you've been practicing at rehearsing at
Yeah.
Noma Studios. How's rehearsal, right? Because this is so mind blowing of a concept. How have the rehearsals been? How they going so far?
Well, so you there's a business to it, right? So you want to save as much money, but also have good quality production. You also realize that like you're not getting paid a ton of money or at all for the rehearsal. So I had to write it in a way that if you wanted to act in it, you could have one rehearsal for 2 hours and be in the show and come visit the space and come and be in the show. So I wrote it purposefully for that. Um, and yeah, the rehearsals have been, we've only had 2 rehearsals, I think. Yeah. And then like I've had one-on-one rehearsals, like the 2 with the 2 different sets of actors. Like it's like a couple, it's like coupling. Um, and then we had one recently this weekend at Recirculation, and then we'll have one more. So it's only been, I think, 1 full rehearsal at Noma, 1 partial rehearsal at Noma, uh, two rehearsals at my apartment. No, 1 rehearsal at my apartment. We had a stage reading at AMT Theater in Midtown, and then we'll have like 1 more at Noma next December
How
8th.
did that reading go? How was that reading?
Oh, it was great. So as a writer, uh, as a writer director, I'm watching for, Led's eyebrows to go up. I'm watching for Led to smirk or look away or to cry or to sniffle or to fall asleep, right? Or be deadpan. So in the stage reading, I'm focused just on acting and the words, and I'm like listening so hard to see if people laugh, people chuckle, if people say and mutter something, and almost things were like a test. Almost like, all right, this line, okay, cool, it landed. This line, oh wow, I didn't expect them to laugh. Oh wow, they asked these questions about this. So everything I wanted to happen happened, except for the last song. The last song was a little bit too rough. Like the lyrics were like, oh my gosh, like thin skin and rough. I don't know, it was just rough words. So I changed it, and then we just ran it last week, and it sounds way better. I just changed the words,
Right.
just gentler words and things like that.
And
Um,
who's the audience that was listening to the reading? Is there an audience there?
oh
Is it a
yeah, there was an
table read?
audience.
What's that? What's that?
Yeah,
How is that? I don't know how that what that looks like.
the AMT Theater promoted it. Ivan Goris is he's an interim director of New Works. I think that's his title. And there's people I didn't know there. There were some of my coworkers were there. Some friends from the neighborhood were there. Like Frank Nibbs was there. I'm sure you're familiar with
That's
Frank
my
Nibbs.
brother, Frank.
Who Frank is understudying one of the roles, Carlos's role. And there's random people there too. And somebody messaged me as well online. I was like, oh, I loved your show, good job. It made me really think about stuff. And then my younger sister was there. My younger sister doesn't filter anything, and she was like, some dude was crying next to me. And I was like,
Wow, that's,
Wow.
that's amazing.
and then another person was sniffling downstairs. There was like a balcony in downstairs. So it was just like half like random people. When I looked down to the audience, I didn't recognize about half the people, and the other half I did recognize. So it was cool. And so if I can get a friend or a family member to feel something, that and some friends are critical. Some friends are like nice to you, and other ones are like you could just tell they're lying to you, and some will just tell you flat out it sucked. So when
Right.
you get the right feedback, and after a while of doing this, you could just tell. Like I could tell the second you say good job that you did not like it, and I should give up. So that I had that sixth sense, but it went well except for the last song. Everything else was like exactly what I wanted. So I had little work to do after that. It was just like directing with the actors. That was it.
So
That's
Adrian,
great. I mean,
before we go any further, Adrian, you gotta tell us the date. What when is this happening? How can they buy tickets?
Yeah, my Instagram at Gross Anatomy Studios. I'm posting every day with the ticket links and just kind of tap and it'll take you to ticket links. Again, it's a collaboration with Recirculation, the Word Up Bookstore. a community bookshop. And the dates are December 13th, 4:15 p.m. at 6 p.m. And then December 14th, that's a Sunday, at 2 p.m. So it's just 3
So-
shows.
3 shows, so 2 on
Great.
Saturday, 1 on Sunday.
Yeah, correct.
That's a great. That's great. I'm intrigued by something that you said, in terms of like your return to Washington Heights. You were, you say you were not excited to come back to the Heights.
Mhm.
Now, you know, me and Led, we love the Heights, but we understand that the Heights, you know, it's got its issues, and you probably, being that you're raised in the Heights, you know, you probably remember those issues, and you came back. You weren't too excited, but now tell me, has that changed? Are you glad that you came back to the Heights? What kind of community have you been able to grow here through this work, which sounds like you've been doing a lot of work in the arts here, especially, you know, trying to get Uptown artists to collaborate with you. So how are you feeling now that you came back to the Heights? How do you feel about the Heights now?
Yeah, you know, it's something I've been thinking about the past month because, you know, all of a sudden I have in the past year 14 microfilms. You know, I wasn't in all of them. I wasn't in a lot of them. You know, I was, you know, again, I grew up in Audubon. So when I say Audubon, people like, no, they're like, oh, okay, 176. Like, and, you know, my building specifically was, you know, I didn't know if I was going to be able to cross the street, you know, and make it. So that was since I was 7 years old. So when I came back, I think, you know, it got safer, to be frank with you. It got a little bit safer. I started meeting people. I started going to a gym called Uptown Movement now, and started meeting a lot of actors and people in the arts. And I was like, wait, y'all live here? I had no idea. And then, you know, interestingly enough, when I put up the flyer, one of the first people was Frank Nibbs, and he had told me about this artist collective 15 years ago that this started and no longer exists. And I was like, wait, what happened? And so in a sense, there's this sense of, you know, I could never tell you, I'll be frank with you, like that I love Washington Heights, that I'm proud of being from here. You know, I'm still here, and it's almost like I want to help make it a place to be proud of, you know, because I still deal with that trauma, and I still deal with all that stuff that happened. And, you know, I remember first time I shot a gun, my bell was rung, you know, and then realized I had that trauma in me. You know, I had to go outside, and I froze for like 3 minutes, and luckily the instructor kind of understood, you know.
I was
And
going to ask, where did you shoot a gun?
in South Carolina, I was in South visiting my sister, right? And I got over it. It was fine, but there was moments of like, wow, there was stuff that happened here that really affected me internally that I didn't realize. Um, but now it's almost like I call it like, I don't know, like a puppy you find on your corner that you take in and you really care about it, you know, and then you develop this love for it and this care for it. And I want to be part of changing the neighborhood for good, but then not just here, but other neighborhoods too, you know? So like, you know, eventually Brownsville and places in the Bronx, and then maybe one day in Chicago. And, you know, so kind of want to start here as kind of a beginning, and then see if I can do the same thing in other places. That'd be
Nice.
my dream, my vision. So yeah, so like, you know, the feelings are kind of changing, and there's a care for it, and I'm still working on that love, you know, because you can, you know, have different experiences, just different
Yeah.
blocks, right? Different avenues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my siblings, like, they don't like coming here. They don't. They try not to. And
Yeah.
even the family of my sister's husband's family, they grew up in the first floor. You know, they don't have happy memories here. They don't come back.
Yeah.
You know, they put their doorbell numbers as like the building, or passwords as like the streets, but that doesn't mean that they want to come back here
Yeah.
and enjoy the time here. So, and I
So
understand it. You know, I definitely
complicated,
feel
complicated feelings,
For real.
complicated
Yeah,
yeah,
for
feelings. Yeah.
sure.
right.
That's real.
Right. So
For
it's, you know, it's
sure.
like a grief kind of thing. And my rock musical talks about it from my dad's perspective. But the way I'm writing that musical is grief about anything. It could be a father son, which is my, you know, story. It could be mother daughter, mother son. It could be friends. It could be a business that you started and you're, you know, it just, you know, bankrupt, or a co-founder in a business that you strayed from each other. So it could be any one of those things, that there's this kind of chasm that pulls you apart, and then how do you bridge that together? So Uptown Books is not much unlike that, you know. I put topics of housing, you know, that one of the characters is getting kicked out of her apartment because the rent is jacked up, and meets a lawyer who can't help her because he's a pet influencer agent. But then, yeah, but then it happens to be that the city council member's new aide is there and helps her out, right? So it's like, how do you bridge these chasms that happen, this brokenness, right? This is a broken community historically, broken families, broken economy, broken things. And but I've also, you know, learned that not everybody had that. Some people have very strong family units. And being Latino in this neighborhood, I didn't quite have that, right? So there's different stories that I have to represent. And just like in my play, I have white people in it, right? So yeah, so that's kind of like the relationship I have. It's kind of building. It's it's growing into more care, you know, than anything
Mhm.
else. Because yeah, I want to see the next generation, even this generation now, and even our parents' generation, to be able to enjoy it, you know, and be
Yeah.
proud of it in a different way, you know, because I think there's
Yeah.
cultural and there's also like the energy of it, you know. Is it a positive, safe, caring environment, you know, when you walk out the street, you know?
So I mean, I love the idea of like that you're doing this kind of experiential, immersive theater uptown. I love that idea, and also kind of working through your own issues, because you're right, with Washington Heights, it's block to block. You know, it's different, like your upbringing. You know what I mean? What you went through. Um, but I have to ask you though, like Lindy Hopper, like a Lindy Hopper, where did that come from? Like that's one of the I've never like how that's like from the 30s, right? I remember reading like Malcolm X used to be a Lindy Hopper. How did you get into that? That's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, long story short, it was after a breakup. A lot of people kind of get into it through a partner. This was a breakup. And you know, I danced hip hop in college, and I was dance hip hop even still, not as much as performance wise, but got into it, really enjoyed it actually. And you know, long story short, performing it, and it's been really great. And I actually got a grant to make a Lindy Hop movie.
Ah,
And one of
interesting.
the things that happened was I was at a it's like a dance camp. Make fun of me. It is a dance camp. This was like 3 years ago in Boston, and there was these OG dancers from like the era, they're in 30s and 40s, who are still alive, and they were talking, being interviewed, and they said that, oh, a lot of the Latinos from Washington Heights came to Harlem to compete with us and dance with us, and a lot of us went uptown to dance mambo and compete up there. And I was like, wait, there was swing dance in Washington Heights? I grew up here.
Wow,
So
did not know that.
me neither, right? So I was like, why is it that I have to leave my neighborhood for people to teach me about my neighborhood, right? And you know, when I finished a movie, and there's someone who was part of that era, and you know, in the script, it's like this hip hop. I made it like you got served and stuff, like cheesy a little bit, but there's some like, you know, some deep moments. The idea is like this young dancer, he's like 23, 25 years old, young dancer in a hip hop crew. I'm the leader of the crew, and I'm a jerk. um, you know, that everything's hip hop and it's our neighborhood and we should keep it here, and that swing dance is dead. But this character keeps getting barriers to doing swing dance, whether it's me, whether it's the violence. And there's like, there's a scene where there's a gunshot and he has to duck based on real life experiences. And then the other scene, he lives with his grandmother, and both his parents passed away, and she's like, you know, what are you going to do if dance doesn't work out? And he's like, well, there's no plan B. So he gets it from his hip hop crew leader, from the community, like just getting home safely, and then from his grandmother as well. And then he ends up doing it and meets another swing dancer that's in his crew that teaches him and brings him into the community. So first, it's just kind of like an introduction of like, well, again, swing dance. Where do we mostly dance swing dance and perform? Downtown, you know, south of 42nd Street, pretty much. You know, so even I started the swing dance social this summer at Five Flies Coffee. We had it twice. We're gonna keep doing it. It's just a little bit tough to, with all my projects, to kind of juggle it. But we're
Right.
gonna kind of try to continue with this. Brandon's a local Harlem, grew up in Harlem. He's a swing dancer, also dances hip hop. He's the star in that film. But yeah, it's just, you know, salsa. Like, you know, how many times a week do y'all go out to dance salsa and merengue?
Right.
this past month.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a crew of people or a group? I don't want to say crew. I guess a group of people that come and swing dance with you uptown.
At
What's that
Five Flies, yeah,
community
we
like?
had it was on. It's on their social media, I think, and I posted
No,
videos
no, but
of it. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, how's that community? Like, who are the people? Like, how are they? How long how many times have you done it? Like, what I'm saying is is that do you feel like a kinship with these folks? Is it,
Oh, yeah, of
yeah,
course, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not
What's
Uptown,
that
right?
like? Like, who, I guess what I want to know is like, describe that a little bit more. Like, what the swing dancing, is like at Five Flies. Do you guys do it for for the fun, or is there an audience that watches you guys?
Oh yeah, it's just for fun. It's only been twice. I'm trying to get it going, right? And
Uh-huh.
I've admitted like I don't want to organize this weekly. I just don't have the bandwidth, but I want to
Right.
see if someone will take them, take the baton and do it. But the swing dancing in New York City is pretty powerful. It's like some of the best swing dancing you'll see. We have some of the best instructors and professionals here. I've learned from them, but again, it's mostly downtown. It's not really up
Yeah.
here. A lot of us, like, I'm part of a group called the Big Apple Lindy Hoppers, and I think like a third of us live uptown, like north of like 145th Street or 125th Street. But yeah, the rest of the time, like our rehearsals are on 34th Street, 42nd Street, Gibney, down on Wall Street. So
Led, I think now it's time to take a short pause so that we can pay some of the bills. We are lucky to have a great sponsor, 181 Cabrini. It's our neighborhood bistro. Both Led and I are just steps away from 181 Cabrini, and we love it. 181 Cabrini is located right there on that corner of 181 and Cabrini, just steps away.
181 in Cabrini.
Just steps away from the bridge. So, yeah, I love it. Led, you and I were there the other night.
Yeah, and we also met there for the first time. You and I, the first time we met, we had like lunch there, and it's my local bar now. Like, since you and I both live like right around. It's my local bar. I spend a lot of time there. James Lee, the owner, is just an incredible restaurateur. Right, I think he's a great guy. He's super funny, but like the food is on point. So please hit up 181 Cabrini. It is really one of my favorite spots. 181 Cabrini, pull up. That's my spot. Show them love and tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, another question I have is, so then you've been doing the short films, right? But how like, was it always in the work that you wanted to actually do theater as well? That was part of it, or just like, let me do theater, just born out of that
No.
moment?
So good question. No, so like it was always TV episodes. Like my goal was to be on NBC, prime time, Grey's Anatomy. That was always my dream. It still kind of is, but with streaming, it's kind of like changed a bit. So I danced in college. I started dancing hip hop. I didn't know I could dance that well. When I was 17, I put on Michael Jackson's MTV Music Awards and I could do every move. And I was like, oh, I can do this. College, I won a talent show. And then I was like, oh, I can dance. Then I went to a martial arts club and there was break dancers. The club was no longer, and the break dancers were using the space. And so I couldn't leave because I didn't want to be rude. And so I hung out. They were really cool. So I came back next week. I started learning breakdancing, and I found out that they were dancing in this performance. And I was like, whoa, guys dance? So I went to see them, and it was really cool. And there was a bunch of girls, like there was like 60 girls. I was like, I'm going to audition. And I did. I got in. I got some pretty good numbers, and it's surprising. So then, I had a really good friend named Arlie, who's still in New York City, and kind of dragged me to all these workshops and master classes, and I just got better and better. So after grad school, I played soccer in grad school just for fun, like, right, but all the time. And there was not dance for like a year after I graduated undergrad. So when I moved to Brooklyn, I remember distinctly, I was ordering a bed frame. I just moved in and I was like, I miss dance. Let me go find the crew, like a hip hop crew or something like that. I clicked the link. No joke. It was for hip hop crew auditions. And I went to a play audition, and it's called Heights Players. So I was like, I've never acted. Let me just try it. So I learned the monologue from Thank You for Smoking, and I went. And then this is the time of like early Google Maps. I think I printed out. It was like early Google Maps on your phone.
Yeah.
So it's in Brooklyn Heights. So I'm walking, and I get to the corner, of the place. It's a church. It's in the basement of a church. I walk in front of the entrance. I'm like, oh, this is the place. I was like, what the hell am I doing? No, F that. So I kept walking. Halfway down the block, these two women come up like, hey, are you here to audition? And I was like, damn it. And they're like, yeah, I'm here. And they're like, come here. And so but doesn't end there. So I did my monologue, got them to laugh. And I was like, oh. So they asked, so I was like, oh, I probably didn't get it. I'm not an actor. I get a call back to come back. And I was like, whoa. So I'm sitting there. It's like, starts at like 7:30. It's now 9 o'clock. I had a date scheduled for 9 o'clock. And it's actually, I'm running late. Let's do 9:30. She's like, okay. It's 10 o'clock. I'm still running late. And I was like, oh my gosh. I leave at 10. I'm an hour and a half late to my date. I told the stage manager, I was like, I have a leak in my apartment. I got to go. So I leave thinking like, all right, this is not happening. I'm not going to be in that. I'm not going to be in this play. It's fine. Never was meant to be. I get a small part in the play. And I didn't even do the callback. Then during the play's ending, and there's a show called Finian's Rainbow, and my buddy who I made friends with was like, you know, oh, you want, is there, asking everybody, like, are you auditioning for Finian's Rainbow? I was like, what's that? They're like, oh, it's a musical. And I was like, oh, I can dance. Let me audition for that. I get in. I can't sing at the time. I'm tone deaf, completely tone deaf. And I get a gospelier, it's a quartet, and I got a part as a singer. And I'm like, what? And mind you, so I did the show in tone deaf, and I got comments after that, and then I almost quit the last show because I was like, why am I in this show? I literally can't sing. And I'm not saying, people say, oh, you can't sing, but they can carry a tune. No, I was like flat and tone deaf. After that, I said, you know what? Let me confront this. So I took voice lessons for a year, went to karaoke 4 nights a week for a year, and I learned to sing. Yeah, I played Bernardo West Side Story, played Pinball Wizard and Tommy. So then around 4 years into it, I started seeing my friends doing these cabarets at the Duplex and doing their own shows. And I went and I was like, that's it? I can do that. So I wrote a one-man show like John Leguizamo inspired. I played 4 different characters, myself and 3 patients of mine that each had like a story that they were battling a chronic pain, all different ages, and true patients too. And I had like a song and I performed it. Then I did it again. I added another song. I did it again and didn't go so well. And I just changed a little bit too much. And then I kind of came to a musical in 2022 at a reading kind of at Caveat Theater. And I didn't work out. I was supposed to do a Hebrew Tabernacle in 2022 again. And I got COVID and I canceled it. And I was like, let me just table this. So yeah, it would just kind of happen. Like I wasn't looking for theater. It just felt like easier than film in 2017, 2018. So that's why I started doing the theater, because it was easier actually. You know, it was just me. I had like an accompanist. I didn't need one, but I was able to kind of just get on stage, memorize my lines and do it. Again, I did like 3 theater festivals around 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah. But yeah, wasn't film. I kind of TV. I knew I wanted to do somehow. And then that kind of evolved, and theater just happened to happen. And I was like, I think I have a talent here, I think. But yeah, so really it's performing. I love performing. That's what it is. I can entertain you. You know, as a physical therapist, I'm all about healing people's physical problems. But over the years as a physical therapist and as a medical provider, you realize that there's a lot up here and a lot in here that needs healing before your shoulder, your neck, or your back can heal. So for me, entertainment is that healing kind of thing. And I call it healthcare entertainment. Now the buzzword is healing arts or arts and healing. And I call it healthcare entertainment because I want to be entertained. I want you to be entertained and not think that I'm teaching you anything. I want you to leave and be like, I didn't really learn anything. And then a month later, you call me up and ask me about your back. And you say, wait, didn't your show do this and that and that and then this, you know? But now it's more healing about anything, mental health, alcohol, cancer, you know, AIDS. So now it just kind of like expands and then kind of healing. And then I also make some stupid stuff too. You know, like it doesn't all have to have a message. It's like ridiculous things. And then, you know, lastly, like the new concept I have, because we're in an era of like vertical micro dramas. And so if you've seen my website,
I don't know what a vertical microdrama is. What? Explain, please.
Yeah, so it's these like 2 to 3 minute vertical like Netflix shows. They're like Quibi was the original. Yeah. So you're on your phone. It's like and they're usually like cheesy softcore porn. They're like cheesy romance, and they're huge hit. Like China, it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry. So in the vein, I wanted to kind of create something. We talked about it. So what I'm gonna do next year is kind of a spinoff of my web series, which is like the physical therapy teaching in the GED classroom. is to have this lawyer. He's like a deadbeat lawyer, and he's helping people in this community solve their legal issues, but he doesn't want to do it. So he's kind of an asshole, but he always ends up helping them. And I'm using Juan Pablo Duarte Foundation. I'm probably going to use their office as a set. And then I'm partnering with Open Hands, which is it's like a faith-based legal not-for-profit that helps people with all sorts of things: housing, immigration, custody, financial stuff. So I'm taking real stories and just kind of turning into like a little bit of a dramedy. So that'll be
Oh, that's cool.
2026 that I'm working on.
That's
that.
very cool.
Yeah. And then the theater, Uptown Books, hopefully it kind of keeps running. That's the goal. Is it just happens January through March is like my goal. And then, it kind of lives on. Maybe some theater, some university in the area, like Boricua or Janet Palace, or an investor, a producer wants to like put it on like a stage reading. But I'm happy if it stays at recirculation. That's the idea, is like it's funding for recirculation to not have to always rely on an external source. They can kind of sell tickets and get income through the arts.
I mean, I think it's funny. I didn't realize how many, like you said, the hats you wear. You wear a lot of hats. You have a lot of talent, right? You kind of figure it all out. How do you decide what to do next, right? Like, I'm gonna do this, but I also, you know what I mean? How does you bring it all together? What's that process like?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, this is one of the things that I have trouble elaborating on it because it just happens naturally. I don't have a choice, right? You just like your dad, right? Your dad, right, Led?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a
How many
dad.
kids do you have?
Three daughters.
How do you do that? That's three. You just do it, right? Like you can't explain
Yeah.
it. Write it down on a piece of paper. Like you wake up and someone wakes up cranky, and what do you do? Well, you do this.
Right.
Like there's no instructions. But if I had to say, usually it's it's resources. So what places do I have? Who's available? Can I reduce the number of characters and actors? Because it's scheduling between 4 people who have a job is really challenging. Schedule between 9 people, that's even harder. Sometimes scheduling 2 to 3 is actually much easier. So that's how I kind of decide what project is next. And then I just kind of gauge, the social media, the news, people who I meet. A lot of times it's like, Octavio, you wanna play a professor? All right, let's do it. Let's write it. What do we have access to? How can we make it work? So it really comes down to like how interested I am in it and what resources are available. But thankfully, I've busted my ass to learn so much that there's not really a barrier. I have a camera, I have lenses, I have microphones, I can write, I can edit, I can fix stuff, I can do VFX, I can fight choreography, dance choreography, stunts. Not stunts, I mean like just running, running
Right.
down the street, running and chasing people. Um, so there's so I can do almost anything. I don't want to do everything. Don't get me wrong. Like that's not the point. The point is that one day I can walk into an office and there is a writer or two, and then there's someone who wants to direct this, and then we'll take turns. And all of this I want to just perform, to be frank with you. It's just if you wait on other people, it just gets delayed.
Yeah.
So I just want to act. So the only way I can act right away is to write my own things and produce my own things.